Look Outreach is underwritten by the generous support of Munter Enterprises. Family owned and operated since 1972, integrity is important, as our family name is on every project. Our word is our bond. Munter Enterprises. Just build it.
Hi.
Hello. Welcome back, everyone. Well, let's face it, if today's weather is any example, it's time to get outside, time for a little exercise, and time for a little bike riding. And joining me today are two guys who are very concerned about this issue and have gone so far to create a very interesting short film about it. So I want to welcome Rob Wright. Welcome, Rob. Rob is the producer of a short film called A Crosswalk in Time. And the director of the film, Charlie Samuels, is here. Welcome, Charlie.
Thank you.
Very nice to
Nice
have
to
you
be
here.
here.
Yes. I had a chance to look at this film while we were talking before this interview. Very interesting piece.
Oh,
But
thanks.
you want to know something? Let's go to the subject matter first, okay? And then let's talk about the film.
Okay.
This is a time of year where, let's face it, even with technology today, people in cars, they're texting, they're talking on the phone, they're doing everything else. They're not particularly paying attention to the safety of those that may not be in cars, that may be on bikes, they might be on tricycles, they might be on regular bikes, they might be on racing bikes, mountain bikes, right? But this is a real concern, especially when you get into an urban setting, right?
Definitely. And people aren't really looking for bikes or scooters or wheelchairs because that's not really endangering them. So,
that's interesting.
So
You're
it
right.
really helps to create safety lanes and crosswalks and all kinds of subtle but inexpensive ways of improving the safety for our community.
Yeah, got it. You belong to an organization here in town. Tell us about it.
The Complete Streets Advisory Board.
Yes.
So, and this is kind of a little bit of a legacy project, this film. Charlie was originally, this is about 5 years ago, was on the Complete Streets Advisory Board. And about 2 years ago, he and Michelle Madigan, who appointed him, our Commissioner of Finance, approached me and asked if I would take over for Charlie.
Great.
And I reluctantly agreed. No, I accepted, and I thought it was a really good way to exercise my civic duty and kind of responsibility towards the city that I really love. I chose to live here, as
that's
Charlie
right,
did
sure.
too.
Yeah, it's such an amazing city for people, right? You meet all kinds of great
Yeah.
people in
It's
this
awesome.
town.
It's
It's a
fantastic.
gem.
You know what, though? Let's, in case our viewers don't know about Complete Streets, when did that start, and what was the motivation behind it, and what are they trying to accomplish?
Well, the previous mayor, Scott Johnson, brought it up for a vote, and they adopted it in 2012. And that means they start a committee, and that committee is composed mostly of volunteers, and we try to implement Complete Streets principles. Now, one of the reasons we made the film is to try to describe what Complete Streets is, because we realize a lot of people, the public, don't really know what it is. And Complete Streets is a transit plan that improves communities in providing safe and accessible street networks for all modes of transportation.
Now, in recent years, a year and a half especially, I know Michelle is a frequent guest on here, as is Joanne Yepsen, and they're spooling this up, right? They want to really, this was initiated during Scott's administration, but it's kind of really gaining traction, pun intended, in the last year or so, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, Jeff Olson has been another one of our cohorts, and he's been, this is the culmination of 20 years of his effort to kind of redesign aspects of the way that people flow through the city. Jeff's done some incredible work, and but with the recent appointment of Tina Carton as sustainability coordinator, a lot of the groundwork that had been done is starting to really germinate. We're really starting to see growth from it. And I mean, not that stuff hadn't been accomplished before, but it feels like a bit of a domino effect where
it's building
things
momentum,
are falling into place.
Right? And that
I
happens
hope so.
frequently with these kinds of grassroots movements. Right, they gain momentum.
Yeah.
There's one thing I didn't know, and I just want to deviate just for a second. You know how there are crosswalks? And if you see that sign in the middle, with pedestrians walking, you know that you have to give right of way to pedestrian. The second they take their foot and their bicycle and their tricycle or their wheelchair off the curb, could be stroller, right, God, stroller, come off the curb, we all know to stop. But if the sign isn't there and the crosswalk is there, the same rules apply. I didn't know that.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you.
You know what I mean? I've seen people enter cautiously. I've seen them look at somebody, but they don't give right away to the pedestrian. and they just keep going because that sign isn't there. But that's not the case, right?
Right. Yeah. No. That you have to stop as soon as a pedestrian has set foot in that crosswalk, and it really just is pretty logical,
Yeah,
and it
sure.
just it really creates a much more civilized and nice environment for people to feel free to walk around our town. I know Charlie's going to talk about the economics a little bit.
And we spell that out in the film, you
Yeah.
know, the crosswalk
Right.
law. And we researched it as much as you can.
Yeah, I bet you did. Now, there's a public showing of this, a premiere. Don't you love a premiere?
Yeah,
This is nothing about this town. This town has film premieres with a bow tie cinema right in the heart of downtown.
That's right.
It's amazing stuff goes on here.
We're really excited about that.
Oh,
I mean, it's
I'll
really
bet you
nice
are.
of them to, for free. They're letting us show it there. So
All right, I want to let them know when. So Monday, coming up, Monday at 6:30. It's free. It's at Bowtie Cinema. It's a 10-minute film. It's wonderful. I don't want to give the plot away, but it has something to do with 1917, drinking from one of the fountains in Saratoga, and then before you know it, you're 100 years ahead of yourself.
time travel.
Time travel.
Right.
A crosswalk in time.
travel.
Really, make a point to go see it. And you'll learn something, too. When I was watching it, not only is it fun to watch, but it honestly, I learned something about it also. And let's face it, we all have a lot going on, and when we're driving, there's a lot of distracted driving. But when you're in an urban setting, especially in a walking city like Saratoga, you've really got to be conscious of the fact of these crosswalks and the pedestrians, because they play an equal role.
And this all gets magnified because our city is growing.
Yeah.
You know, and in any city that is growing, you're going to have traffic and parking problems. And this is one of the low-cost ways of alleviating those problems.
Yeah, got it.
So, you know, you have more bike riders coming into the city instead of cars, you're going to have more places to park.
Right,
You're going to have more flow in the city, easy. Also, people who ride bikes or walk have more money to spend in some, well, not really more money to spend, but studies show that they spend more money because they're walking near other stores.
You know
instead
what?
of being in the car.
I always love it when we get around to this part of the conversation. You know, I want to applaud you for saying that. You know, but there's always somebody in the crowd who says, "Why? Well, what's the economic impact for the city?"
Right.
You know?
I mean, you gotta approach that angle because it's true.
And it's supported with statistics. You know,
Yep.
there's
Of course it is.
numerous studies out, and that's why a lot of these progressive cities have doubled down on advocating for complete streets to bring in more bike riders, to bring in more, to have more foot traffic in town, more of the, you know, the millennial market as well.
Which is what that market is. All right, guys, we're out of time. Monday, 6:30 at Bowtie Cinema, downtown Saratoga. And Rob, thank you.
No,
Charlie,
thanks
thank
for
you
having
for
us
coming in.
on
It was a great
board, man.
conversation.
Appreciate it.
Thanks
Good,
for having
guys.
us.
Okay,
Yeah, it was
be
great.
careful
Our
out
pleasure.
there.
All right, go see the movie.
To see this interview again, you can head to our website, looktvonline.com.